Good evening. I'd like to call to order the June 5th, 2025 meeting of the City of Nashua Planning Board. Ms. Harper, could we please get a roll call?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Mayor Donges, Mike Peterson, Bob Bollinger,
Here.
Adam Varley,
Here.
Maggie Harper here, Dan Hudson, Scott LeClaire, Larry Hirsch,
Here.
Cameron Green,
Here.
Alderman Cleen.
Here.
All right, thank you. All right, next on the agenda, approval of minutes from the May 15th, 2025 Planning Board meeting. Has any member of the board had an opportunity to review those minutes and is willing to just make a motion regarding their acceptance or acceptance with modification? Alderman Clee.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Motion by Alderman Clee. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Green. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Any abstentions? Ms.
Yes.
Harper. All right. Motion passes with one abstention. Thank you. All right. Next item on the agenda, communications. Connor, Scott, anything that came in after we got our packets?
No, other than the information I just shared. Yep, but
All
we
right.
can discuss that later on.
Very good, thank you. All right, next item on the agenda, report of chair, committee, and liaison. Got nothing, but Ms. Harper, anything to report on this evening?
I do not have anything to report, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. All right, before we move on to our regular cases, I would just like to read the planning board procedure. The procedure of the meeting is as follows. After the legal notice of each conditional, special use permit, site plan, or subdivision plan is read by the chair, the board will determine if that application is complete and ready for the board to take jurisdiction. The public hearing will begin, at which time the applicant or representative will be given time to present an overview and description of their project. The applicant shall speak to whether or not they agree with recommended staff stipulations. The board will then have an opportunity to ask questions of the applicant or staff. The chair will then ask for testimony from the audience. First, anyone wishing to speak in opposition or with concern to the plan may speak. Please come forward to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. This would be the time to ask questions you may have regarding the plan. Next, public testimony will come from anyone wishing to speak in favor of the plan. The applicant will then be allowed a rebuttal period, at which time they shall speak to any issues or concerns raised by prior public testimony. After this is completed, the public hearing will end and the board will resume the public meeting, at which time the board will deliberate and vote on the application before us. The board asks that both sides keep their remarks to the subject at hand and try not to repeat what has already been stated. Above all, the board wants to be fair to everyone and make the best possible decision based on the testimony provided and all applicable approval criteria. Thank you for your interest and courteous attention, and if I could kindly request that you silence your cell phones at this time. Thank you. All right, moving along. New business subdivision plans. There are none. New business site plan, case A25-0073, property located at 11 through 13 Mulberry Street. Has any member of the board had an opportunity to review this application and is willing to make a motion regarding completeness and board jurisdiction? Mr. Varley.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that new business A25-0073 is complete and ready for the board to take jurisdiction.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Varley. Is there a second? Second by Alderman Clee. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion passes. If there's a representative for the applicant, just come right up, introduce yourself. The floor is yours.
Great, thank you. My name is Brian Brandt. I'm a civil engineer with Fuss & O'Neill in Manchester, New Hampshire. Thanks for having us today, and I think Connor's going to pull up some slides for me. Could you get the planning board presentation on?
Yes, sir. So we're having some technical difficulties. I'm unable to access my email or the local file drive right now. I do have the plan set. Do you have a hard drive?
Yeah, perfect, yeah.
You can.
So I can get going while they get that up. I have some exhibits to kind of flush through. Basically, what we're here to do is present a redevelopment of the building at 11 to 13 Mulberry Street. It is, let's see. So it's at the corner of Maple, Elm, and Mulberry Street. It's a .4 acre lot, and it's surrounded by the Maple Street parking lot. It's a blighted old building. It was built in 1925. It was originally a bread company. It was a church for about 21 years. There was a fire back in 2018, and it's been vacant since at least then. The neighborhood, if they do get that plan up, I wanted to kind of go through and just show you the neighborhood and the proximity of where it is, but it's only about, so it's one block off of Main Street. It's one block south of West Hollis, actually right near City Hall and right near the bus station. So, and it's diagonally across from the public health. There we go. Nope.
Is this not the right document?
That's not it?
Can you go to the folder?
Sure, let's go back.
Let's go
It's a
your
different
file
project.
drive.
Yeah, just go to the file. Just go back to like the folder.
Yeah, file drive from the.
The folder, like where all the documents are.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
It's kind of at the bottom of your screen.
There we go.
So Mulberry.
Mulberry, gotcha.
Sorry. And then the PP presentation, that's right there.
PB?
Yeah.
Getting there.
And I think it's, no, let's see, full screen that.
Sorry about that.
All right, yep. this
There
is
we
it.
go. If you could maybe minimize and zoom in a little bit,
Yeah.
be able to see it.
Exit that.
Which one?
Exit that. Click that. All right.
That's the comments one on the side too.
Look at that.
There we go.
Perfect.
Proceed.
So the site is kind of the orange outlined in the middle. To the north, you see it's kind of a little bit that NTS, that's where the train station is. City Hall's right next to that. Citizens Bank is up in the top right. CVS is directly below that. Southern Hampshire Health is kind of directly to the right. And then just off the page is Dunkin' Donuts and Shaw's. The plan is, can you flip to the next page? This shows the existing conditions, so right in the middle, that L shape, that's the existing building, and the Maple Street parking lot surrounds it. Maple Street is along the top, Mulberry is on the right, and Elm Street is on the bottom. Next slide, please. So this is the proposal. Basically, we're going to tear the building down and put up a building that's slightly smaller than the existing building. The building, as it exists, goes right to the right-of-way line and right to the property lines all around it. We're going to pull it in 3 to 4 feet on the right-of-way side. The sidewalks are only like 5 or 6 feet wide, so we're going to make sure we have a nice 10-foot sidewalk all the way around. We're going to pull it in from the Maple Street parking lot as well for building codes. In case a building ever goes up there, you need to have some separations for the windows. What we're going to put is a 5-story building. It's going to be 4 stories of residential. The first floor is going to be parking, lobby, trash, and just like a mailroom. But there's going to be 64 units of residential, 16 per floor. And the current mix right now is 8 2-bedrooms, 8 1-bedrooms each. So about 32 2-bedrooms and 32 1-bedrooms. It's subject to change a little bit when we finalize the architecturals. The main pedestrian entry is going to be on Mulberry. That's also where the vehicular entry is going to be. The lobby and the package room, like I said, are going to be on the first floor with the trash room. And in the corner, we kind of rounded the corner, so the sidewalk at the corner of Elm and Mulberry is a little bit wider there just for sight distance and just comfort of pedestrians walking around. Landscaping, it's tough to see, but we're adding 5 street trees around. Right now, it's fully impervious. Like I said, the building takes up the entire lot. So we're going to have 5 street trees, 2 on Mulberry, 3 on Elm, and then we're pulling in 5 to 10 feet around the perimeter, so there'll be some shrubs and some landscape stone to promote infiltration. One of the comments that came out was the building has an old kind of date placard that we're actually going to incorporate that into the new facade. And the architect, Jim, will talk about that a little bit when he gets up here. As far as parking, so we have 31, can you go, next page.
Next page.
Yeah. So this is the bus route. So like I said, we're only about a block from the bus station. And this shows the bus kind of centers at the terminal, and it goes pretty much everywhere in the city. We only have 31 parking spaces. That's what we could fit. We have 64 units. I know that ratio is a little bit late. But there's no parking requirement in the zone. We're in a downtown area. Like I mentioned, there's all the businesses and buildings and restaurants and shops where, you know, walkable. We're right in the downtown. We're 1 block from the bus station. So yeah, we do have a little bit of a light parking ratio, but some residents won't necessarily need cars. If we want to build a city that not everyone needs a car, we do need some developments that don't necessarily have as much parking. That being said, there are some off-site parking lots, off-site parking structures. The applicant will work to, you know, potentially get some off-site parking, you know, agreements with private entities as well. So we'll make sure that this is a successful building. Let's go next slide. I think the next one is the architecture, but before we get to that, the utilities, we've worked with DPW, we've received some comments. Utilities should be all set. We're connecting to water, sewer, electric, gas. We have stormwater. We have a reduction in peak flows and an improvement in treatment because we're you know, reducing the amount of impervious. We're infiltrating some of it into the ground. Some of the comments that came up, there were some screening questions that came up, and I think that was something that we requested that we'll work out. We do have some screening on the transformer, but one of the ordinances requires a solid fence. Eversource has been pretty particular about more of a see-through fence, so we're just asking that that's a condition that we can work out, you know, any screening requirements with staff. The trash, we've had some meetings with public health, and we had some discussions with DPW about how best to handle the trash. We have some different ideas. We're going to try to work with everyone to make sure that that's addressed. There's some options that some people like, some people don't. So again, that's one, I think, a modified condition that we were working with staff just a few hours ago. We're just going to ask the board if you could kind of delegate the authority on figuring out the exact trash layout with public health and DPW and us, and we'll, you know, continue to work with them and make sure everything works. The rest of the conditions we had no concerns with. We are happy to maintain the 5 trees. We're widening the sidewalk. We'll have to happily give an easement to the city to allow public use of that sidewalk, the little 3-4 foot strip that's been expanded into the lot. And I think that's all I have. I'm going to ask Jim to kind of just get up and give you a brief summary of the architecture, unless you had some questions before.
No, not at this time. Feel free to.
I had a question.
Oh, certainly, Maggie, go right ahead.
Just out of curiosity, what thus far are the trash options?
So the plan that we laid out was those toters. So we were going to have 20 toters. The public health is very concerned with rodents and having a floor drain. We're definitely going to, you know, make sure the rodents are not easily, like, can't get in there. They don't like trash chutes, so they've asked us to not include a trash chute. The concern right now is about the pickup. So we,
Right.
You know, if we're laying out 20 toters, it kind of takes up all of Mulberry. There is a wide enough strip that we can put them on the sidewalk and still have 7 feet surrounding, and the trash truck could pull up and you could still get a vehicle around. So we're just kind of working out, you know, some people want one thing, other people want other, so we're kind of stuck in this middle that I think we're going to get a meeting with public health, with DPW, with planning, and we'll just figure out a solution that works for everyone.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Jim Jazokis, Jazokis Architecture Incorporated. I guess we can just continue the conversation regarding the trash. Like I was telling the owner that there is also money to be made there with the recyclables too. So it's not like 20 barrels would be put out all at once. It could be 10, and then the recyclables come out for 10 and 10. So you get the paper, you get the metals, you get everything else, and that reduces their load and their time to be have that trash picked up. If they do go the trash compactor route, the current design is easily altered to, because the elevator and the trash is in proximity to each other, so people could drop through the trash chute right down as they're getting on the elevator to leave for the day. So there's both options, and that definitely needs to be worked out, obviously, before we finish the building design, but yes, be happy to work with the board and whomever, health department, in regards to that. The exterior of the building that we have, just want to bring that up. It actually came out a little closer to what the intent was, which is a traditional New England red brick with the granite, as well as some stucco elements. And, yeah, there we go. Right. So it's not more of an earth tone. It would be more like a complementary to the building diagonal to this, which is the health department. So internally, we have some available space for other amenities, so this wouldn't just be a straight-on full apartment building. There would be other things in there. That could be a gym, could be meeting areas or whatever. So that's the goal, is to have this as a middle to higher end rental units. So I'd be happy to address any other questions. That's basically it.
Alderman Cleek?
Thank you. Just, this might be to staff. With 64 units, is there a requirement for, or is this because the downtown areas are required for the AMI, the 60?
You're referring to affordable housing?
Right.
So there is no density maximum?
Because it's in the downtown area?
Correct.
Okay, great. Then I do have one other question, and this might be for you, and maybe I just missed it when you were talking and in the document. Trash pickup, is that private or city pickup?
Private.
Oh, it's private. Okay, it made sense when you were talking about the different barrels, because I'm like, no, the city does it all at once. So, yeah, okay, thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you. I was just curious about, staging for the construction and possible road closure or lane closures. What is that gonna look like? Just because we've seen some of that recently with some of the apartments.
Where the building's kicked in, that is gonna help a lot, because we don't have to hold back the sidewalks while we do our excavation. But also, this is slab on grade, so we're not putting in a full basement. So that also relieves that time of
The excavation.
having to hold back the sidewalks. And obviously, everything else will be done per OSHA's requirements of protecting pedestrians as they walk by during construction.
Yeah, we'll have to coordinate with the city DPW excavation permits. We will have to, take some of the road temporarily, put up some jersey barriers to make enough staging, because there's 10 feet from the building to the curb line. But you really need, more than that, 18, 20 feet for crane setups and all that. So we will work on like road closure plans and temporary, traffic control plans, and we'll coordinate that with planning and DPW, make sure that's all done the right way.
And thank you. And just as a follow-up question, what are you anticipating the length of the project to be?
What do you think, 18 to 23 months?
Yeah, probably like 20 to 24 months.
Sorry, just make sure you're in front of them, because they're like,
Sorry.
they won't
Yeah,
get.
probably like 20 to 24 months, give or take.
Yeah, I have 2 under construction right now, and that's the pace.
Thank you.
Alderman Cleek?
Thank you. The parking lot that's filling in your L there,
Yep.
that's a city parking lot.
It is.
In
It's
there,
the main street.
will any of your equipment and so on be, I know you talked about road closures, but will you be in there? Because I know some of those spots are leased and some of
Right.
that is public parking and so on.
We'll have to coordinate and work with the parking division if there is any availability. That would be ideal, but I understand that lot's pretty full, so we
Yeah.
don't really know what's gonna happen, like, when we start construction. So we'll coordinate with them, figure out if there's any availability. We'll lease those parking spaces for the time being, but my understanding is that lot's pretty full, so that's
Yeah, it is.
probably not feasible to take a big chunk of it for any extended period.
I have a follow-up, that was kind of part of what I'm saying is that the parking lot is very full, so whether your equipment and so on, it's the construction and how do we make sure that none of those, because as you see in there, the cars are really close to, I mean, I'm looking at it through the GIS, I mean, the cars are
Right.
fairly close to
Right, yeah. But
your construction and so
Yeah,
on.
the plan is, because we're pulling the building in, we'll put Jersey barriers on and fencing, temporary fencing on the, kind of the limit of our lot lines,
Okay.
to not like impact. And anything that we do have to impact, we obviously have to get approval. But the plan is to basically try to not impact that at all, try to stay entirely on our lot, try to work out into the right of way a little bit because there's, less impact going out into the right of way.
Just quick follow.
Certainly.
I think my biggest concern are those, I think there's like 10 or 12 parking spaces in your little L there that are right up against, very close to your property
Yeah.
line. I don't know whether or not those are leased or whether those are vacant or so on.
Yep.
And I don't know how much space you actually have between your property line and that. That's my biggest concern. I'm just putting that out there. It
Yeah.
doesn't change how I'm going to,
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that all of that is taken into consideration
Yeah.
when you're doing all this, because that is a city property, obviously,
Yeah.
make sure your insurance is paid up.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Yeah, when we get a general contractor on board, one of the first things they do is they do a traffic and maintenance and a construction logistics plan. And we'll make sure to coordinate directly with parking division and city, planning and DPW and engineering, and make sure that, everybody's fully aware of what's gonna happen, what the expectations are. There's you have to have a pre-application, like a pre-construction meeting with everyone, so that stuff will all get worked out. And, yeah, we're sensitive to it.
thank you, thank you.
Alderman Clee, just to take it a step further, within the suggested conditions of approval, pre-con is stipulated as well as a bonding
Right.
requirement. I think in some ways this applicant may be fortunate that the city is the landowner here. I would imagine, I would hope there's a peaceful agreement that could be reached, even if
Exactly.
there is the possible loss of a small number of spaces
Yeah.
for a short duration of time. But I think they have options, so I appreciate the line of questioning.
May I?
Yeah,
Certainly.
staff has been great to work with so
Yeah.
far. We want to continue to keep that happy relationship.
If I may, I do agree, and I'm glad that it is the city and you don't have to deal with a private property. My only concern is I know how full that lot is. And if we did have to move these people, it could be loss of lease revenue. I know you could lease those spaces, but also the inconvenience to others having to move and so on. And then suddenly it becomes a construction site where cars that are parked there get construction dust and everything. I'm just looking at the whole picture of,
Yeah.
this is city property, they're paying a lease to us. I can't help it, I speak a lot for the city as an alderman. Now they're getting construction dust on them, and they're gonna say to us, we would just say Mother Nature will put pollen on your car too, but just so that, as long as everybody's aware of it, you're gonna have the
Yeah.
pre-construction meetings, and I appreciate all of that, I just like to bring it out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little tricky. It's an urban lot, it's a city lot, so
Yeah.
we're gonna have to have a good contractor that knows what they're doing and keep open communication and, have the GC's phone number, posted, so if anybody has an issue, they can call them
Good.
immediately, right?
Thank you.
Other questions for the applicant? Actually, Mr. Pratt, I have a couple, just, you do have 2 waiver requests. Would you care to speak to those?
Yes.
If you don't mind, thank you.
Thanks. So, yeah, the 2 waivers are to show the existing conditions. So there's a requirement that we show the existing conditions for, I forget what the distance is, but we did fully survey the Maple Street lot and our lot. We didn't fully survey like all of the abutters on the opposite side of the street and everything. So we're just requesting a waiver. We're not impacting anything. Our limited construction is utilities in the center of the road. So just a waiver to not have to fully survey like everybody's abutting lots. The other waiver is there's a residential buffering requirement. I'm not fully sure if that applies because we have like a street separating. To me, it seems like that maybe would apply more if like you have a side buffer to a residential. But I think the way that it's written, it still like technically applies. So basically, we're just asking to not provide whatever that required residential buffer is, because we're surrounded by a city parking lot and city streets.
Yeah, I would offer, the first waiver you requested is a fairly common one. The buffering one, I think, was one I was more interested in, but that said, I know you're drawing the building inward slightly, so I think, I don't know, other board members, please feel free to ask questions. It seems like you don't have a lot to work with there.
Right.
It seems like you're trying to draw it in to the extent that you can. So I wouldn't personally have any issue with the buffering waiver as requested. But obviously, Alderman Cleek, yes.
Thank you. I don't ever foresee the city selling this, but we never know. We're popping up apartments every which way, so it would be, I guess, to staff and so on. Doing a buffering waiver, if we did sell this land, how would that affect anybody that purchased it and tried to build on that? Would they have to then do a larger setback in order to have enough space between the two buildings?
Are you referring to the?
The buffering, the waiving of the buffering, the space.
Per the building code.
Yeah.
You can build right up to the property line,
Okay.
but if you want to have windows,
You can't. Yeah.
you got to kick it in. So, and it's a percentage as you move in, so it's
Okay.
like, I believe it's 15% of openness
Okay.
if you're 5 to 10 feet in.
Okay.
And then it kind of, from 10 to 15 feet, it's another 25% or whatever. So the further you're away from the property line, the more windows you can have. So
Okay.
that's why it's a residential building, you want
10 foot.
windows. So it automatically needed to be kicked in.
And we did provide, like I said, 5 street trees along the
Right.
Elm and the Mulberry side. And then we do provide junipers on both that north side facing the parking lot and on the east side. So we have junipers and tall grasses and some landscape stone in there. So it is going to look nice, but it's, a building that's 70 feet tall. How do you provide
Yeah.
buffer or fencing? I don't know.
Yeah.
It seemed like just kind of keeping it all open and taking more sense.
And even if the city did want to expand this into their own parking garage, it still would not affect what we're proposing. We're proposing something that's self-sufficient, doesn't matter what's gets built next to it.
And Mr. Chairman, I
Yes.
do have another question that's unrelated to this, if I may ask it. It's unrelated to buffer, but if you'd rather.
If it's unrelated, I don't know if they'll be able to answer it, but you're certainly able to.
Well, it's just,
ask
no,
the
it's
question.
actually, it's
All right,
something
all right.
that I wrote a note down as it was said. And I guess I have a big why. The solid fence versus the screen fence, you said that Eversource is very adamant. We have an ordinance that says solid fence, and yet the Eversource is like, no, we want a screened-in fence. Do you know why? I mean, it's not going to change my.
Eversource needs 10 feet of separation from the front of their transformers because they have a 10-foot static discharge pole.
Okay.
So they have to be able to stand 10 feet back to be able to open that. They will allow a fence with a gate 5 feet in front, but over the past couple of years when I've been dealing with them, they want it to be visible. And I think it's more of a safety thing. I don't think they want people to be hiding in there, and they want to be able to see if there's any like limbs
Arcing
that are
or
down on
anything.
it or anything. So they're okay with the solid on the sides. So we're proposing this, we're going to revise the plan and propose a solid on the side facing the parking lot. But on the fence, I think it's on one of the plans in that planning board presentation.
Oh, yeah, I can show you that.
I had an image of
Yep.
that one there, or yeah, that's similar.
Okay.
Actually, if you go to the other PDF that I had, that planning board presentation.
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna pull that up now.
So we finished the building in Manchester, and they let us put, yeah, it should be on one of those architectural plans, one of the floor plans.
And we're not proposing.
But it's basically, it's like a wrought iron,
Okay.
black, see-through, it's a gate, 6 feet tall, so it like protects it from people getting in there, but the safety of the workers, they can see around it and see it and make sure nobody's hiding in there.
I'm good with it. I personally, I don't need to see. I don't know
Okay.
about my colleagues, but.
Okay.
it's Alderman Clee, thank you for the question. It's unfortunate when the utility regs may conflict with city regs, but if it is a legitimate safety issue.
It is, yeah.
I think,
do
I think it's
understand.
actually, I think that the ordinance actually is referencing residential buffering,
Okay.
and right across the street is automotive. So I think it may actually be a moot
That's
ordinance.
correct. After
Yeah.
further review, it does not apply to this specific
Okay.
situation.
Right,
so.
but you're willing to continue to engage in discussions to come to
Yeah.
some sort of solution, so,
Yeah.
okay. All right, Mr. Green?
Different topic, snow storage. What was the plan in this lot for that?
Well, there's no parking, so there'll be no plowing of our street. We have talked briefly with the city about, sidewalks and everything, and the city, they don't really have the ability to plow every single sidewalk in the city. So
Okay.
we talked about most likely the management company would plow the sidewalks. Just like every urban environment, it's a little tricky. That's one of the reasons why I made at least 10 feet wide, so that you still have that, ability to have a little bit of that snow. When the plow comes, you might have that little snowbank. If we do end up with the toters for the trash, we're gonna have to clear that strip right in front of the front door so that the toters can have somewhere to be picked up. Yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah, I was more worried about with the trash, but yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, luckily, we do have that that landscape strip that we can push around and, clear at least the trash area and push it next to the building.
Other questions from the board? Good. All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Seeing none at this time, I don't think we have anybody, but anybody from the public here to speak either in favor or with concern? Okay. Flip it back to the board one more time. Any last minute questions? All right. Well, at this time, we'll close the public hearing. We'll go into our public meeting. My initial thoughts, it seems like they're trying to make the most of what they have. Obviously, the site inherently has a fair amount of constraints. I think it's a rarity that we see an existing building that basically goes right up to the property line on all sides. So I appreciate the applicant's willingness to continue to work with the city, particularly on, it seems like, kind of the two remaining issues regarding the screening and the trash removal. But other than that, I'm sure as board members, you've probably driven past that site dozens and dozens and dozens of times coming here, and there's an opportunity for sort of a do-over. I think it's a good thing. So, Alderman Clee, please.
I echo your words exactly. I've driven by it just going to public health and just driving in general. I think it's been well overdue. And as long as I've been an alderman, which has been 8 years now, and we've been talking about something needs to happen, something needs to be done with any building that has had these problems. The fire was there was an issue with it. It's a safety hazard as far as I'm concerned. It's a vacant building, we don't know what's going on, and I'm glad to see something's gonna go there. We've talked about apartments and so on for a long time, so I know some people said they wanted a hotel, but hey. It was discussion. Anyways, I'm definitely, I think that they've tried as much as possible. It's a hard fit.
Yeah, and I would agree, and especially in a zone where they're not required to provide parking.
Yep.
They're providing some.
Any parking is good.
Again, even as Mr. Pratt testified to, the ratio isn't great, but again, they're not required to provide any. So, again, I think it's a situation, they're doing what they can with what they have, so. Ms. Harper?
Just, I guess to further echo your sentiment, just that I feel like it's a very appropriate use of, this piece of property, and it will certainly be an improvement.
Thank you, Ms. Harper. Any further discussion amongst the board? In that case, would anyone be willing to make first be looking for a motion with respect to the two waiver requests. Mr. Green?
Quick question.
Certainly.
Do we want to include the second waiver if it's not needed, more for staff, this question?
That's a good question. Connor, would you like to handle that?
Sure, so, you say that the second waiver,
The second waiver to waive the buffering requirements, if it's truly not needed,
so that is needed.
Okay.
It was the technical comment that it was on the staff report previously, regarding just the fence around the
About the fencing.
transformer.
Got it, okay.
So that's no longer applicable,
Right.
so I actually struck that from the staff report.
So it's the same section, 190-181.
Yeah.
However, A, B, and C, I think is written in the staff report, are still applicable.
Correct.
It's
Yeah.
just
That's
E,
specific.
which
Correct.
is no longer, okay.
Okay.
But,
Yeah.
no, good question, Kim, thank you. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Would any member of the board be willing to make a recommendation or a motion regarding the two waiver requests? Mr. Varley, please.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I would make a motion as to new business A25-0073 with respect to the two waiver requests made by the applicant. And that motion would be to grant both of the waivers, specifically a waiver from section 190-279EE with respect to the requirement to show existing conditions on adjacent parcels, and with respect to 190, 181, A, B, and C, with respect to buffering requirements along abutting residential districts. And as to both of those waiver requests, my motion to approve would be based on findings that strict conformity would pose an unnecessary hardship, and that the specific circumstances or conditions of the land indicate that the waivers could be granted and still allow for their proper carrying out of the spirit and intent of the regulations.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Varley. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Green. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Mr. Varley, if you're so inclined, would you like to continue the thought?
Yeah, happy to do that. The only thing I wanted to just note before I make the motion, just so you're aware of it, I understand that we're going to add an additional condition regarding, the work to develop the trash plan. I was not intending to add a condition around the fencing, given Connor's indication that that there's not actually an ordinance requirement with respect to that, so I'm not sure that I feel like it would be appropriate or applicable to have an additional condition, and I think we've gotten sufficient clarity from the applicant during the public testimony to address that, if everyone's comfortable with that.
Yeah, I would agree, Mr. Varley. I wouldn't feel compelled to specifically call that out. I think the trash seems to be more of the sticking point, honestly. But, I'm sorry, Mr. Green?
It seems like the trash comment is at least in the letter. I don't know if we want to specifically call it, that's fine if we do, I think.
Yeah,
It brings more clarity to it.
I noticed that as well. I mean, there is an existing provision there. I wasn't sure if the request was being made specifically to sort of incorporate DPW and public health into that. Is that?
I think it would be appropriate to tag the condition, the comment, I believe you're referring to the letter from Michael McGinnis, Division of Public Health. That was a discussion we had with the applicant regarding the trash plan, but DPW was not involved in that. And so they had some competing, priorities, if you will. And so we kind of need to all re-huddle and come together to have a agreed upon trash plan, all applicant, DPW, and public health. So I think the condition would still be good. But great question.
The introduction of the new condition, that is, would still be applicable?
Yes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind a tad bit of redundancy, just to make
Yes,
sure
I agree.
all appropriate city departments are covered. If it's duplication, then so be it, but Alderman Cleave?
I agree, because if I'm not mistaken, when the applicant came up and spoke, they even mentioned that they would like the request to allow DPW and as part of the agreement. So I think it was mentioned there. I think we should make it as part of the conditions, whether it would be redundant or not. I'd feel more comfortable.
Thank you. As long as we're hashing it out, one minor thing, I think the citation on the Joe Mandola letter should actually be June 3rd, not June 2nd.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think everything else looks okay. So, sorry, Mr. Marley.
No, quite all right. I started us down that path, so. Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to approve new business A25-0073. And that motion it would be with the finding that the, sorry. We're referring to the subdivision. Just not-
It's okay, so sorry, grant final site plan approval.
Yeah, no, it just says, okay, sorry. Just wanted to make sure it was the correct reference to the ordinance. So, sorry, that would be a motion to approve, finding that the site plan does meet the criteria outlined in NRO section 190-146D, with a total, with all of the stipulations indicated in the staff report A through K, with one modification to stipulation A to correct the reference to the letter from Joe Mandola, to be dated June 3rd, 2025, rather than June 2nd. And then adding a new stipulation L, and that would be that the applicant will work with the city engineering department, DPW, and public health to determine an acceptable trash plan to the satisfaction of engineering, DPW, and public health prior to signature of the site plan approval by the planning board chair.
Thank you, Mr. Varley. Motion by Mr. Varley. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Hirsch. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, review of tentative agenda to determine developments of regional impact. Has any member of the board had an opportunity to review the project list and is willing to make a motion regarding potential regional impact? I forgot to download that. Oh, Mr. Marley, I'm
Sure.
sorry.
That's all right.
I kept looking for it. I was
Just
like,
raising
I
his
thought I
hand.
downloaded it. I'm sorry.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion that, having reviewed the tentative agenda, I determined that there are no proposals of regional impact.
All right, motion by Mr. Varley. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Harper. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. One, Larry,
Thank you.
abstain.
Sorry, one.
Next item on the agenda, Board of Aldermen referral. I apologize. Am I looking? No, okay.
Yeah.
Board of Aldermen referral, R25-174, authorizing the purchase and sale agreement of 44 Broad Street. Connor, would you care to give us the briefest of brief overviews on
Sure, yeah, I
how
can
that
try.
got here? Okay.
So, the property located at 44 Broad Street is city-owned, and it's been on the market for a little while. There's been some offers from various other property owners and businesses, but the city wanted to be intentional with, the purchase of the property as it is on Exit 6, and is kind of like a gateway to downtown Nashua if you go through Veterans Memorial. It's recently, it's, the referral is for the purchase of the property for it to be a dentist's office, so it's a more aesthetically pleasing development than some other offers we had. We had road service use or kind of a manufacturing use, but I think this site, being its constraints due to its steepness in the rear, it will be a good property, or a good fit of the property.
And just for clarification, this was surplus property from the Broad Street Parkway project?
Yes.
And very good. Questions of staff on that? Seeing none, so we'd be, per usual, on an aldermanic referral, so we'd be looking for a motion either to favorable or unfavorable recommendation regarding the resolution. Any member of the board feel comfortable making that motion at this time? Ms. Harper?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion for a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Motion by Ms. Harper. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Green. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Last item on the agenda, final approval of cases, 8 8th Street, 3 Swart Street, 593 Amherst Street, and 71.5 through 73 Walnut Street. Connor, Scott, refresh my memory because I've forgotten.
Sure.
We do not need a formal motion. This is just acknowledgement that final approval letters were issued by the planning department.
That is correct.
Okay. I guess for the record, I will read the case numbers, and so the board hereby acknowledges final approval of the following cases. Case 824-0070, 8 State Street, 824-0227, 3 Spartan Street, 824-0005, 593 Amherst Street, and case 824-0107, property located at 71.5 through 73 Walnut Street. Final approval is so stipulated and acknowledged for the record.
And just to update you on those particular projects are underway. 3 Swart Street is not yet, but the others are under construction and working towards completion.
All right, very good. Thank you, Scott. 7:48.
Not a record.
Not a record, but still pretty
Close.
good.
Not too shabby.
But I don't want to cut anybody off prematurely. Closing thoughts? Anyone have anything they want to add? No? Cam? please.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, bingo. Look at that. He snuck it right in.
I know.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned at 7:49.